in the quiet town of Madbury, New Hampshire, on August 18, 2025. Police were called to a house after someone reported that several people inside had died. Officers arrived around 6 o'clock in the evening. When police went inside the home, they found 4 family members who were no longer alive. They were 34-year-old Emily Long, her husband Ryan Long, who was 48, and their 2 young children, Parker, who was 8, and their daughter Ryan Long, who was 6. All of them had died from gunshot wounds. Police also found another child in the house. The couple's youngest son, who was a toddler, was still alive and not hurt. Officials later said the child had been alone in the house for a long time, possibly for half a day or more, while the others were already dead. Even though he had been alone for many hours, he was in stable condition when found. The bodies were in different rooms throughout the house. Emily Long was found with a gun and had a gunshot wound. Because of where the bodies were found and where the weapon was placed, investigators quickly came up with an early explanation. Police believe Emily shot her husband and children before turning the gun on herself. The way officers described the scene was careful and factual. Their words showed that this was not something that happened suddenly, but something that appeared to have been planned ahead of time. Support the channel by liking the video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing for more stories. It truly helps. Thank you. Let's dive into today's case. Ryan Long was born in 1975 and was 48 years old when he died. In the years before the tragedy, he worked as a school psychologist at Oyster River Middle School in Stratford County. People who worked with him said he was quiet, caring, and focused on helping students. He often took part in school counseling activities and was known for supporting children who needed help. Emily Long was 34 years old and worked at a Wingett's restaurant in the area. She did not have a management role, but the company confirmed she was an active employee. Co-workers described her as respectful and always on time for her shifts. At the time of the incident, Emily and Ryan were married and living together in their home in Madbury. They had 2 boys and a girl. Parker was 8 years old, Ryan was 6, and their youngest child was about 3 years old, according to information shared with the press. The family followed a daily routine based on the children's ages. The 2 older children went to school each day, while the youngest stayed at home with Emily. Online posts that were still visible or saved before being taken down showed that Emily often shared pictures of her family. These posts showed everyday moments, trips, and special events, creating a record of their life together. The Long family was not listed as needing help from social services. With both parents earning money, they lived a life that fit the average middle-class standard in Madbury. There had never been any reports or concerns about the family that would bring them to the attention of support agencies. Ryan had a steady job working in the school system, which also provided health insurance. Emily worked part-time, but she stayed very busy at home. She often talked online about caring for her children and handling the normal struggles of daily family life. People who worked with Ryan said he was dependable and calm. He did not have a reputation for arguing with others or feeling overwhelmed at work. The youth programs he helped oversee at the school were well received, and both parents and school leaders spoke positively about his involvement. People who worked with Emily at the restaurant said she was usually kind and polite, but they also noticed that her moods could change. In the months before the tragedy, some co-workers said she became quiet and stopped joining in group conversations as much. She also avoided talking about her personal life and focused only on doing her job. At the same time, Emily shared a video on TikTok where she talked about feeling very tired emotionally. She admitted that she was struggling with depression and feeling worn down. What stands out is how different the family's public image was compared to what happened later caused from outside. Everything seemed stable and normal, but this situation showed how serious problems can stay hidden from others, even close friends or coworkers. Official records and public information confirmed that the Long family was never seen as being in trouble. They had stable income, were involved in the community, and had good reputations at work. However, none of these things were enough to prevent the personal struggles inside the home that eventually led to a tragic outcome. According to official reports that were confirmed by several trusted news sources, Ryan Long was diagnosed with a serious brain illness in 2023. The illness, called glioblastoma, is a fast-growing and very dangerous type of brain tumor. Doctors say that even with treatment, people with this condition usually live only about 1 year after being diagnosed. After learning about his illness, Ryan continued working at the school. Coworkers said he tried not to talk about his health and wanted to stay focused on his job for as long as he could. On the outside, he appeared professional and committed, but over time, people began to notice changes. He seemed more tired than usual, complained of headaches, and sometimes had trouble concentrating. The family found out about the illness when it was already getting worse. As the disease progressed, Emily began posting videos on TikTok where she talked about how hard things had become. She shared her fear of losing her husband, her worries about the future, and the emotional stress she was under. Because the illness advanced so quickly, Ryan was no longer able to do as much as he once could. While he was still part of family life, his ability to take part in daily activities slowly declined over time. Based on Emily's online posts, she took on most of the work at home and carried much of the emotional stress in the family. She spoke openly about her mental health getting worse and said she was dealing with depression and pulling away from other people. When one person in a family becomes very sick, it can affect everyone else in the home. This idea was often mentioned by people commenting on Emily's videos, especially since she appeared to have little outside emotional support. Ryan himself never spoke publicly about his illness. Everything the public knew about his condition came from what Emily shared online or what others, such as friends, relatives, co-workers, and school staff, said later. According to the Attorney General's office, no official medical records were given to investigators. Because of this, Ryan's illness appeared in the case only through what people reported, not through confirmed medical documents. Even though some of Emily's posts were later deleted, the topic of Ryan's illness spread widely online. Social media played a major role in how the public learned about the family struggles. It was through TikTok that many people first became aware of the serious problems inside the Long household, and this information later became part of discussions about what may have led to the tragedy. After Ryan was diagnosed with his illness, Emily Long began posting videos often on her TikTok account. Her page quickly drew attention because she spoke honestly about very personal feelings, such as her fear of losing her husband, feeling worn out emotionally, and feeling helpless about what was coming next. The videos became like an online diary where Emily shared her thoughts as they happened. Most of her posts focused on one main idea: living day by day with a husband whose life was slowly slipping away. Emily said that each day felt extremely painful and hard to get through. She talked openly about how much she loved Ryan and described him as calm, steady, and guided by strong values. She compared this to herself, saying she was more emotional, worried often, and afraid of being alone. In one video posted not long before the tragedy, Emily spoke about how scared she was of losing her husband. She said she could not picture life without him and did not know how she would take care of their children by herself. The future, she admitted, felt frightening and overwhelming to her. At the same time, Emily said very little about how the situation might be affecting her children. She rarely talked about Parker, Ryan Jr., or the youngest boy in her videos. This caused some viewers to criticize her in the comments. People said her posts seemed focused mostly on her own pain and did not show much concern for how her sons might be feeling. Many commenters felt this was important. They believed that when someone talks only about their own fear and ignores the needs of others who depend on them, it may show that their thinking has become unbalanced. This idea came up again and again in the discussions and was difficult for viewers to overlook. Some of Emily's videos received mixed reactions. People wrote that she appeared distant, emotionally worn out, or almost empty while speaking on camera. Others suggested that the videos did not seem natural and might have been planned ahead of time instead of recorded in the moment. After the tragedy, Emily Long's TikTok account could no longer be accessed. It is still unknown whether the account was deleted by TikTok, removed by family members, or hidden because of the ongoing investigation. By the time Emily's TikTok account was no longer available, many of her videos had already been saved and shared by other people. This happened especially on TikTok and Reddit, where users reposted clips, discussed them, and shared opinions about her behavior. People also speculated about her possible motives. Some of Emily's videos became widely seen or viral. They showed her feeling very stressed and tired, but there were no signs of her being violent. This made the situation even more confusing. Many people wondered, how could someone who spoke so openly about loving her family later do something so extreme? Police did not make any official comments about the videos themselves. Still, the clips had a big impact on how the public understood the case. Online, people created their own explanations, often using Emily's posts as a main source of information. In the end, Emily's TikTok account had two main effects. It allowed her to share her feelings and look for support, but it also shaped the way the public viewed her mental and emotional state during the last weeks of her life. In the months before the tragedy, life in the Long household changed a lot. Emily started avoiding other people. She didn't respond to invitations, canceled plans, and slowly lost touch with friends she used to see regularly. This pullback from social life matched what she shared in her videos, where she often said she felt overwhelmed and out of control. In one of her last posts, Emily mentioned her youngest son, the 3-year-old. She said he was waking up more at night and seemed anxious, which was affecting his sleep and behavior. Even though these were warning signs, Emily only spoke vaguely about getting professional help, saying things like, "He's too little for therapy," even though the issues were becoming noticeable. She also admitted that she could not handle everything on her own. Shortly before the tragedy, Emily made a video saying she wanted to make big changes in her life. She talked about wanting to go out more, reconnect with friends, and create a more normal social life for her sons. In the video, she looked calm, had makeup on, and seemed ready to take action, but she never posted any updates after that. The plan Emily talked about never actually happened. This raises a question. Was her sudden talk of positivity real, or just a way to look normal for others? Looking at the events that led up to the tragedy, a pattern begins to emerge. Someone in a deep personal crisis may show signs of wanting to change, but it might be more for appearances than real progress. Before the tragedy, several things were building up. Emily was becoming more isolated, showing clear signs of emotional exhaustion, worrying about her youngest son's health, and making promises to change that never happened. Together, these factors suggest that what happened wasn't sudden or random. Instead, it came from increasing stress and tension that went far beyond normal family challenges. A few hours after the tragedy, a final message appeared on Emily Long's social media page. It said, "Remember us this way. 19 years. From a first to the last kiss. Today is the finale. The score is 0-0. But we were happy. Hold on to love." The post included family photos, a picture of Emily and Ryan, holiday snapshots, and photos with their sons. It was shared with music that made the message feel final, like a farewell. Soon after the tragedy, Emily Long's social media account was either closed or made private, so the original post could no longer be seen. However, screenshots and copies had already spread online. Many people who saw these believed the post had probably been scheduled ahead of time. In a way, it became a digital record of her final actions, shared without explanation or request for help. There were no reasons given, just a message asking to be remembered. Because of this, some experts thought the post suggested planning. They compared it to the final scene of a performance that had already been carefully arranged. One detail in the post, the 0-0 score, was seen as symbolic. People online suggested it represented both happiness and sadness, a tie between success and loss. Combined with the words, "Today is the finale," it gave the impression that a decision had already been made and the ending had been anticipated for some time. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office, however, reminded the public not to jump to conclusions. They said that any possible motive could be complicated and might not be fully understood. The final social media post became part of the investigation. Authorities treated it as part of the digital trail left by the family. Because it included photos, music, and emotional words. Many people saw it as the last piece in a chain of events. The videos, confessions, promises of change, and then a final message marking the end. It wasn't just a goodbye. It seemed like a signal of a life being directed according to a plan, one that may have been written or scheduled long before it actually happened. After the tragedy that shook Madbury, attention turned to one person, the youngest child, the 3-year-old son. He was found inside the house hours after the estimated time of the incident. Physically, he was safe, but being alone near the bodies for so long raised serious questions about the emotional impact. He may be the only one who witnessed the event, even if only in a subconscious way. Investigators noted that after being removed from the home, the boy was immediately placed in temporary care with close relatives. A medical check showed that the 3-year-old boy had no physical injuries. But within a few days, specialists who work with children who have experienced trauma were brought in. A team of psychologists from the state's Child Protection Services focused on helping him feel safe, preventing long-term emotional reactions, and creating a stable environment. His name has not been released, and strict privacy rules are being followed. Decisions about his long-term care are being handled privately by guardians, lawyers, and mental health experts. He is one of the few people in the case who may still have a chance for a positive future, though the experiences he went through will likely stay with him for the rest of his life. The discovery of the family led the New Hampshire Attorney General's office to open a formal criminal investigation. Officials reviewed everything carefully: emergency calls, messages, the actions of first responders, and digital material from inside the home. They also looked at how quickly the crime scene was documented and how efficiently agencies responded. However, because Emily Long, the suspected perpetrator, had died from self-harm, a court case was not possible. State law requires that a criminal case be closed if the person responsible is deceased. As a result, the investigation was finished and no charges were filed. Even with all the facts, the conclusions are not simple. In many ways, there are more questions than answers, and much about this tragedy remains unclear. Thanks for listening to Bleak True Crime. If you're fascinated by real-life mysteries and chilling cases from around the world, explore our channel for more in-depth true crime stories. Hit subscribe so you don't miss our next gripping investigation.